Hello, welcome to Write for the Stage. You gotta be kidding me. Hello, and welcome to Write for the Stage. My name is Nicole, and I'm a playwright. I'm here to help you learn how to share your ideas, whether that's for an audience of 1 or 1,000. Today's video is how to write dialogue. You will need 2 or 3 sheets of lined paper, just kind of depends on how big your handwriting is. I ended up needing 3 sheets, and a pen or pencil, whichever you like better. If you don't have paper around, or if you would rather type, then you can use a computer or tablet instead. Let's get started. Some of you have probably heard the word dialogue before. If this is your first time learning about it, the word dialogue just means conversation. Regular conversations, just like you have every single day of your life. On stage, when 2 or more characters talk to each other, that's when you have dialogue. Dialogue is actually one of my favorite things to teach students because we all already know so much about it. We read dialogue in books, we watch and listen to dialogue on TV shows and in movies, and we have conversations, right? We have dialogue every single day of our lives. So you probably already have a lot of ideas about how dialogue should sound just based on your own personal experience. The different thing about writing dialogue for the stage is that on stage, we don't get to hear what the characters are thinking inside their heads, right? The actors just don't say the characters' thoughts the way in a book you could read them. To show you what I'm talking about, let's actually look at some dialogue from a book. This is a book I really like called Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. Nnedi Okorafor is a Nigerian-American writer, and she writes fantasy and sci-fi books for kids, for young adults, for older adults, which I think is pretty cool because it means she is really multi-talented. This book, Akata Witch, is about a 12-year-old Nigerian-American girl named Sunny Nwazwe who discovers that she has magical abilities. Now, when I was reading about this book, getting ready for this video, I found out that some people call it the Nigerian Harry Potter. And when I read that, that kind of sounded off to me. It sounded a little not right, but I wasn't quite sure why. In fact, maybe some of you, when I just said that right now, you were like, yeah, there's something kind of funky about that. So I wanted to just think about that. What's bothering me? Why isn't that sitting right with me? The first thing I thought was, okay, I've never heard Harry Potter called the British version of Akata Witch. But maybe that's just because Harry Potter came out first. I mean, it's true, Harry Potter came 15 years before this book, almost. Except that still didn't answer my question, because it's not like Harry Potter is the very first book about magical kids that was ever written anywhere in the world, right? There's so many stories about magical kids, I wouldn't even be able to count them. And I'm totally sure that a bunch of awesome stories about magical kids were written by other Black writers and other Nigerian writers and other writers from different countries in Africa and different countries all over the world, outside of Europe and outside of the United States. But I've still never heard Harry Potter called the British version or the European version or the white version of any other story, no matter when it came out. So I decided I don't think that's right. I think that writers, like Black writers like Nnedi Okorafor, should be respected on their own and shouldn't be judged based on a white writer's story or called a version of something by a white writer. So some of you are probably like, yes, right on. And some of you might be like, wait a minute, this is cool and everything, but I thought this video was about dialogue and you're talking about something else. And I promise we're about to get back into dialogue and into Akata Witch, but I just wanted to share that with you because I think that some of you have probably had feelings like that before, where you've read something or watched something and just had a little feeling like, there's something off here. And even if you don't know what it is at first, I think that we can learn a lot by actually listening to that feeling and paying attention to that feeling instead of ignoring it. And I also think we can learn a lot by asking questions about what we read and what we watch and what we listen to. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say before we actually look at the book. And let's do that now. So we are going to look at chapter 2, Avocado Witch. And at this part of the book, it's still early on. So Sunny, the main character, she doesn't know yet that she has these magical abilities. But she does have a friend at school whose name is Orlu. And he's like kind of mysterious. Like maybe something's up with him magically. In chapter 2, where we're going to pick up, Sunny is getting to know a friend of Orlu's whose name is Chi-Chi. So let's jump into this dialogue between Sunny and Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi bit her lower lip and made an arc in the dirt with her toe. So you and Orlu are close friends now? Sunny shrugged. Well, Chi-Chi said, if you're going to be good friends with Orlu, then you have to be friends with me too. Sunny frowned. She thought she and Chi-Chi were friends, sort of. Why is that? Because you're his in-school friend and I'm his out-of-school friend. Sunny laughed and shook her head. I'm not his girlfriend. Oh, neither am I. We're just friends. Okay, Sunny said, frowning. Well, okay. I don't know much about you yet. Not enough to say we're friends, Chi-Chi said. She cocked her head. But I can tell there's more to you. I just know it. Now, let's see where the dialogue is in this passage. So you can see the dialogue in purple. All the words that Sunny and Chi-Chi say to each other, which are all the words inside quotation marks, are the dialogue. Now let's take out everything else. All the crossed out words are words that we wouldn't get to hear if this was on stage. They're not a part of the dialogue. So now let's see what this dialogue would look like written down if it were for a play instead of a book. You can see that the characters' names are easier to find in this version. That's so that your actors know which lines they're supposed to say and which lines are for another character. Here's how the dialogue would sound if it were on stage. So you and Orlu are close friends now? Well, if you're going to be good friends with Orlu, then you have to be friends with me too. Why is that? Because you're his in-school friend and I'm his out-of-school friend. I'm not his girlfriend. Oh, neither am I. We're just friends. Okay. Okay. I don't know much about you yet. Not enough to say we're friends. But I can tell there's more to you. I just know it. Now that you understand how dialogue works on stage, let's write some. Step 1. To write your dialogue, you're going to need characters. First, choose 2 characters to write about. These can be any characters you want. I have another video called Make Your Own Character that takes you through the process of creating a brand new, never before seen character. So if that's interesting to you, you can look it up. But for today, if you want to come up with 2 characters now, but you're not sure where to start, you can choose 2 animals. That's what I'm going to do today. Next, write a short description of each character. Here are a couple examples. If I were Nnedi Okorafor and I wanted to write a description of the main character from Avocado Witch, it might be Sunny Nwazwe, a 12-year-old Nigerian-American girl. Or if I were writing about an animal, it might be Squirrel, a young gray squirrel who lives in the woods. So I'm going to write about 2 animals today, and I decided to go with a squirrel and a turtle. I think that popped into my head because they're 2 animals that I can see in the park near my house. And plus, they're really different from each other, right? A squirrel and a turtle have a lot of differences, and I thought that would make an interesting dialogue. This is what I wrote for step 1. You can see I've got my 2 characters, and then I just wrote super short descriptions of them. Squirrel, a young gray squirrel who lives in the woods, and turtle, a dark green turtle who lives in a big lake, a little bit older than squirrel. Now it's your turn. Remember, you can write about 2 animals like I did, but you don't have to. You can write about any 2 characters that pop into your head. This is your dialogue, so you are the one in charge who gets to decide. You can pause the video now and take as much time as you want to write. Go. Ready for step 2? Awesome. So we've got the who, our characters. Now what we need is the where. First, decide where your characters are and write a short description of the setting. Here are a couple examples. Again, if I were Nadia Korafor and I wanted to write a description of the setting for the dialogue we read together, it might be this. Southwestern Nigeria, near the city of Aba. The yard outside Sunny's school. Or, for the dialogue I'm writing, in the woods near a big lake, Turtle is sitting on a rock and Squirrel is coming down from a tree. Next, choose which character will talk first. Remember, there are no wrong answers when writing your dialogue, so don't worry too much about which character is going to speak first. I promise you it will work either way. So here's my dialogue again. Now, I figured that Squirrel probably lives in the woods, right? That's where squirrels live, and Turtle has to live near water. So I decided that my setting would be some woods near a big lake. I also describe a little bit what Turtle and Squirrel are doing when the dialogue starts, which is totally optional. You can do it if you want to, but you don't have to. Then I had to decide who will talk first, and I picked Turtle. That's why I wrote the character name Turtle below my setting. Your turn. So pause the video, take as much or as little time as you need, starting now. You made it to step 3. So this is the part where your characters actually speak. You already know which character is going to talk first, so now you need to write your first line of dialogue. Maybe you already have that line in your head, in which case, go for it. You can just write that down. But maybe you're still wondering where to start. Your first line is probably, maybe not, more on that in a second, but probably a greeting. How does your character say hello? It might be hello, hi, howdy, hey, what's up, what's happening, or something else. Now, if something really exciting or really scary is happening, then maybe your character skips right past the hello. They might say, OMG, or help me, or you'll never guess what I just saw, or something like that. My character, Turtle, does start with a greeting. And I decided that Turtle would talk really slow, but Turtle is also greeting Squirrel, and Squirrel is like one of Turtle's best friends, so it's slow, but it's not a sad slow. It goes a little something like this. Hi there, Squirrel. You can start your dialogue any way you want to, whether that's with a hello or a howdy or just run. Whatever you want, you're in charge. So pause the video and get to writing now. Nice work. You're almost there. This is the last step, step number 4. It's time for the hardest but coolest part. Write your dialogue. If you already know what you want to write, then just go ahead and write that. But if you need a little help getting started, here are some questions to think about. Are your two characters friends? Enemies? Family? Something else? Maybe classmates, neighbors, coworkers, something? Does one of your characters have news to share? If yes, about what? Does one of your characters need help or advice? If yes, what's troubling them? For my dialogue, I decided that I wanted to write about Turtle needing some help. I really like the idea of writing a dialogue about friendship, and I thought that this would be a cool way to show the friendship between turtle and squirrel. Okay, here we go. Nicole's dialogue. Characters: squirrel, a young gray squirrel who lives in the woods, and turtle, a dark green turtle who lives in a big lake, a little bit older than squirrel. Setting: in the woods near a big lake. Turtle is sitting on a rock and squirrel is coming down from a tree. Hi there, squirrel. Turtle, my dude, what's going on? You okay? Do you have some time? For you, my friend, I have all the time in the world. I was wondering, am I boring to you? Boring? Not at all. Why do you ask? Everyone moves so fast, but I like to take my time. Is that boring? Look, you know me. You know I run fast from place to place. I'm always in a rush. It's exhausting. I like that you move slow. You help me remember to relax. That's why I say I always have time for you. I like being your friend. It's not boring at all. I could pick up the pace. Then you'd be like everyone else. How boring is that? Your dialogue can be 100% different from mine. Maybe you want to set it in space. Maybe you want to write about a giant argument. Or maybe you just want to write a scene where two characters are trying to decide what the funniest joke in the world is. Anything goes, okay? If you're trying to think of an idea, I came up with mine by thinking I would like to write about friendship and different kinds of friendships between different characters. So maybe ask yourself, what's something that you would like to write about, or maybe even a story you would like to see on stage? So pause the video, take your time with this part, as much time as you want, and good luck. And that's it. You're done. You learned how to write dialogue for the stage. I hope you had a good time. If you want more and you're just hungry for more, there's a couple different things you could do. If you're interested in acting, you could share your dialogue with someone who lives with you. Maybe someone who takes care of you, like a parent or grandparent, or a sibling or a cousin. And if you ask super duper nicely, maybe that person that you share your dialogue with could read one of the characters, and then you read the other one, and it would sound just like it would if you were performing on a stage. On the other hand, if you're not so much an actor but you like to draw, you could actually use this dialogue to create a short comic book just by creating pictures for each line of dialogue. Thanks for watching Write for the Stage. I'll see you next time. Bye.